grade those. You're going to turn them in to me today. Our second objective today is going to be practicing summarizing. We have done summarizing before when it came to informational text. And at the beginning of the year, we also practiced it when we read our first story. But today, we're going to review again how to summarize a story. So if you look at the top of our board right now, it says when you summarize, you include only the most important pieces of a text. Whether you're reading informational text or whether you're reading a story. Now when we read a story though, it's not the same. Just like when you read in Mr. Seaver's class, you don't really read. Okay. When you read Mr. Seaver's class, you're not reading stories, are you? Are you?
Yes.
You read stories in Mr. Seaver's class?
Yeah, we read the novel.
Oh, you've read the novel that you're reading right now. That's true. Now, what about when you read informational text about cells or about energy? Right. Now, here's the deal. Some of it tells a story, while some of it just gives you information. So what we're going to talk about explicitly today is summarizing for a story. So when we talk about a story, what important elements does a story have to have in it? What elements does a story have to have in order for it to be a successful story? What kind of things do you expect to see in any story that you read? Any story you read, what is it going to have? Gabby?
Detail?
Well, yes, we want great details to bring the story to life, but what kind of elements does a story have? Because details could be in informational text or in fiction. Latondra? A solution? Yes, it has to have some kind of solution or resolution. What else does it need to have? Asian A?
A character.
Does it need a character? Yes. It needs at least one character, but usually they have more. All right, what else do we need, Ariane?
A conflict.
A conflict or a problem. And then, Frank, a plot. So, these are the key elements that we're going to focus on today as we practice summarizing together. This is how we're going to do it. I am going to summarize, then you are going to summarize No Guitar Blues on your own. So here's what's going to happen. Right now, I'm going to read a story to you. Your job is only to listen. Good for you, though, it's a story that you're already familiar with. It's a story that we read at the beginning of this school year called David's Time Out. You already know this story. So what we're going to do today is listen to the story. It's going to look like you sitting and looking at me and listening. And then we're going to stop and we are going to summarize. And we are going to end up writing a full what? What happens when you summarize? What do you write? You write a summary. So we're going to summarize this story. We're going to look for the key elements of characters, of conflict, of plot, and then finally, resolution. So right now, all I need you to do right now is open your ears and listen, and I'm going to read to you David's Time Out. David's Time Out. The books in David's backpack felt like bricks. They banged against his spine as he jogged down the sidewalk dribbling a basketball. All he wanted to do was play basketball with JD, but his mother had other thoughts. She told him that if he wanted to play basketball, he would have to return his sister's books to the library on his way to JD's house. In his opinion, books in summertime just do not go together. You wouldn't catch him cracking a book when he could be playing basketball. He got his fill of books during the school year. Truth be told, he had never set foot inside a public library, and he wasn't about to do so today. He would just drop the books off outside the return box. But But there was a problem. The outside box was locked. A note attached to it asked patrons to bring the books in to return them. All right, let's stop and talk about a summary. What are the important parts in a summary of a story? I already told you this. We just talked about it. What are the key parts in a summary of a story that we want to focus on, Gabby? A conflict. What else? Omar. Plot. And lastly, have we gotten to the resolution? Yes,
Do you have Savannah Archman?
I do.
Can you send it to the office? She's being checked out.
Yes.
And can you also send another student to pick up some papers?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, let's continue. If we said plot, conflict, resolution's important. We're forgetting one key piece. What's the first thing that we talked about? The main character. So, leave it. Let's take a look at a way that we can write a summary of a story. Let's take a look. We're going to write a summary of a story using the SWVST width. Each one of those letters stands for something, and we've done it before. Somebody wanted, but, so, then. Take a look right now on the board. I do not want you writing anything because you're going to save those sheets for the time that you practice. Right now, take a look at the somebody on the board. Track it. Somebody. The somebody stands for who is the main character. In the story that we're reading right now, I'm going to fill in what I know. I know that David is our main character. Wanted. Wanted is very important because this tells us what the character's after. What is the character looking for? Okay? So in this case, I want you to think about David. What is he after? What is his goal? What does he want? I know what David wants. Think about it now, Damien. David wanted to play basketball with JD. Very good. That is absolutely true. Here's where the conflict comes into play. Conflict is another way of saying what? What's a conflict is another word for what? A conflict between two people is the same thing as saying a fight, a problem. Every story has got to have a conflict. In this case, he has a big conflict. He wants to play basketball, but the but part right here, what was the problem the character faced? He wanted to play basketball, but what got in the way of that? Now that is the conflict of your story. So what is the conflict here in the story? Who can tell me the conflict that David faced? Who can tell me the conflict that David faced here? Bradley?
The problem was that he wanted to play basketball with JD, but he had to return his sister's book.
He had to return his sister's books. Very good. The only problem, and this even takes it a step further, would it have been a problem if he just went by the library and dropped off the books? Would the story would have just ended right there? But something complicated the problem. The problem is not just that he has to drop off the books, because he could have done that, but what complicated the problem and made it even worse? What took it to the next level there, Shanti?
He didn't want to go in the public library, and he tried to do it with the drop off.
But it was,
Locked, so
he had to go
and
inside the library. So that's the big problem. We're going to add that. So he had to return his sister's books, and he was, what? Forced to go inside because the outside
it's not.
slot was closed. Alright, now, so far we have the somebody wanted but. We have a main character, we have what the character wanted, and then we have the what that the character faced. The what?
The problem.
The what?
Conflict.
We have the conflict that he faced. Now take a look at this. So, the so part is way more complicated than the other part. Because now we have the character and the problem, but now we have to show how do they handle it. How did this character try to solve the problem? They had to go into the library. Well, what did they do about it? Well, let's find out. We didn't even read. Some of us remember, but let's read to find out. Oh, just kidding. Wrong thing. All right. Here we go. He slipped inside the building a few minutes before closing time, and he popped the books into the return bin. After a quick drink of water and a brief stop in the restroom, he would be on his way to meet JD. David walked out of the restroom and halted in surprise. He was shocked to see the library lights were off. I'm sorry, I lost my place. The place was deserted. The exterior doors had been locked with a key. They couldn't be opened from the inside. He was trapped in the library. He tried to use the telephones, but a code was needed to make an outgoing call, and David didn't have a code. Plus, the pay phones were on the outside of the building. As the sun began to set, he searched for a light. He found what he was looking for on the librarian's desk. It was a little light that clamps onto a book. All right, so David has to go inside the library to drop his sister's books off. Okay? So what could we say happens next? So here's the problem. What happens? How does he handle it? He's forced to go inside a library. He doesn't want to go. He'd rather be playing basketball. Come on, Trackman is over there at my desk. Oh, wait, you're going ahead in the story. Remember, when you talk about the plot, it has to go in order. You can't jump to the end because you're forgetting some important stuff in the middle. You want to go in order of events. Gage, what do you think? Well, he went inside the library. He was forced to go inside, and what happened? He got stuck. Let's start there. David, help Gage expand on that thought besides he got stuck, question mark. He asked it like it was a question. Josh, help him expand on that thought. Go.
He was forced to stay in there and like the sunset. He stayed there until sunset.
Well, let's start events. Key events. Hold on 1 second. What's the problem?
No.
All right. So, he was forced, that's backtrack. He walked in the library to return the books. He what?
He was stuck in the library.
He got stuck in the library. David got trapped inside the library. Now notice how big the so section is. I have to list every single little tiny detail?
No.
When I write a summary, do I include every single little thing? I only include,
Excuse me.
yes,
Can you send a student to pick up the papers, please?
I will.
Thank you.
No. All right. So, no. Okay. So, do you want to include every single little tiny detail when you write a summary?
No.
You only include the most important ones. So, Damien, what else? Track Damien. Damien, I'm ready when you are. He got trapped inside the library, then what?
Then he waited until sunset. Then he found the little.
No, well, I don't know what sunset. I don't know where the sunset came the library, what was the next step? What did he do next? Maya?
He went to the library, and
The lamp, okay. He also tried to, before that, you're forgetting one little thing, Daisy. Track Daisy. So he tried to call, but the phones were, the phones needed a code. He also found a light on the desk, and that's where we stopped. Okay, here's what I want you to do now. Track me, track the board. Ariane. Ariane. Sit up. And stand up in the back. Come sit up. Come on. Up and stand back there. Right down. You find it? All right. Stay there. All right. Watch me. Do you see the then? I'm sorry. I'm right here. Everybody who's more interested in what else is going on. Then, what was the resolution or the outcome? Well, we haven't read that far yet. But just think, we are going to build to the end of the story. The then part is going to be how the problem is solved. So I'm going to read it right now and I'm going to finish the story. I want you to think about how his problem of being trapped in the library and that he would rather be playing basketball. I want you to think about how that problem is solved and how it leads up to that, because we're going to list the rest of the events after this. Here we go. Thank you. At last, he could see. David used a marker to write a note on a big piece of paper. It read, "I'm trapped inside. Please call for help." He taped it to the front door. Surely, someone passing by would see it. He then turned his attention to the library itself. He was stunned to discover that this place was not so bad. Sculptures and paintings lined the walls. Rows and rows of shelves held videos and music that people could check out and take home. When he saw a biography of Michael Jordan on a display table, he picked it up. He settled into a comfortable chair and clipped the light to the book. He rested his feet on the basketball and flipped open the book's cover. He knew he would have to wait to be rescued, but now that didn't seem to be such a horrible thing. So tell me now, after he found, let's skip. I'm going to skip down. Could you tell me the resolution to the problem? Who could tell me how David's problem was solved of being trapped in the library? I see lots of hands up. How many of you could tell me how David's problem was actually solved? Juan? So he realized that the library was not such a bad place. We're not writing this. This is Miss Julie's chart. You're saving your paper. I told you that earlier. All right, next. Are we done? Did we leave some stuff out though?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. We left out we went from here to here. Did we skip some important stuff?
Yes.
Isn't it important to figure out how he got to this point? So let's take a look at how he got to this point. How did he realize that the library wasn't such a bad place? Well, let's go from when he found the light on the desk. What did he do after he found the light on a desk? Remember, our events are going to go in order, and they're only the most important things. Ashante? Huh? Well, before that, he found the lamp, then he made a... Okay. He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a note that said what? He found a note, or he made a no Or just said did what? What was, he just wrote a note to his girlfriend? What did he write? Why was he writing this note? Yes, he was writing a note that asked for help. Then he decided to just do something different. Did he go straight to the Michael Jackson book?
No.
What did he do first? Jason. Oh, Michael Jordan.
Before he went to the Michael Jordan
Hold on.
book,
Jason speaking.
he looked at the library and said, and he thought it was in a bad place because it
What?
didn't have music
Very good.
and art and other stuff that they could check, other people could check out.
Good to check out. Now we get to the part right before he makes his big discovery. So right before all of this, what else do we need to include that's pretty important? In fact, I don't think David would have felt the same way if this event had not happened. What do you think is the most important event in this story to include? What is the most important event in this story, a decision that he makes that really changes how this story goes? What do you think? I know what it is. Do you know? What's the most important event that really makes a change in David? Changes him. He does a 360. He flips around and he's not the same that he was. What changes him? What do you think? Omar?
The library changes him because he didn't like books, and then when he started reading that much.
So what was the event that changed him? What event? What thing happened that changed him? What?
Excuse me,
Yeah,
do you have Jason's plate on?
I do.
Can you let him know he needs to go home as a bus rider today?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on, Omar. We got distracted. Okay, he's over here. What event changed him? Yes. So, he finds a book on Michael Jordan. He then starts reading, settles in, changes him and his whole attitude. Now, guess what I can do now? All I did was talk about the main character, somebody wanted what they wanted, but what was their problem? So, what events happened that led them to the then, which is what is the then part? The resolution of their problem. Guess what I can do now? I can take all of this information that I put together and I can write my summary. So watch what I can do now. I'm going to write a summary now in a full paragraph. Here's my summary. David wanted to play basketball with JD, but he had to return his sister's books. Now, am I writing it exactly how I had it up there? No. I'm rewriting it so that it makes sense, and then I'm having some great sentences. I'm combining some of my ideas. Latondra, -2. You need to get on track. I'm writing it so that it actually makes sense, and I'm using the information I gathered, but I'm not just, I'm not just copying exactly what I had. I want to make sure it makes sense. So I need to read, he wanted to return his sister's books, so then I'm going to add that. He was forced to go inside the library because Denise?
You left out you left out that he was locked inside of the library.
Yes, and that's the only thing I left out?
No,
What part of the story is that? What have I left out?
you left out
I have the conflict in the characters, but I don't have the
problem and the
well, I have the problem. He didn't want to go to the library. He had to go. I left out the solution and everything that led to the solution. So now I need to go and add the rest of it. So let's do that. All right, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it into full paragraph. So, let me change it so y'all can see it. Alright, here we go. First, okay, he got, the slot was closed. Then, he got trapped inside. He tried to call, but the phone needed a code. What else? Next, what's underneath?
He found him a book light.
He found a light on the desk. What did he need the light for? What was the next thing he did? What was the purpose of having the light?
To write a sign.
Good. He found a light on the desk and wrote a sign asking for help. And then we're done, right? Uh-oh, we're getting distracted. Tyler, go ahead and finish it up for me. Tyler, let the book sag go. That's okay. Okay, Tyler, she wrote a sign asking for help. Then what?
He tried using the phone, but
We got that, we got that. We're looking at our summary. Let's get back on track. Josh.
he looked on the table and there was a Michael Jordan book.
Well, before he found the Michael Jordan book, he looked all around the Gabby.
The library.
He looked all around the library at the books, the art, the music, and found a Michael Jordan book. What have I not included though? What's the last most, not every story, but most stories have this, and it's a very important part of the story. What did I leave out of my summary?
How he solved it.
Good, how he solved the problem. And how did he solve it, Tamash?
He solved it he solved it by he said the library.
Good, he realized. We call that a realization. It changed his mind. He sees something that he never saw before. He realized that the library was not so bad. Now, what we did, give me 1 second, Juan. We have written a full summary. So what your job is going to be on Monday is to write a summary yourself. I've done one. Now it's your turn. You're going to write a summary of No Guitar Blues. That's why you have space in your packet to do that. So wait. Right now, for the last 5 minutes, I would like you and your shoulder partner. I'm giving you 5 minutes to do the somebody wanted but so. So you have to figure out who the character is, the main character, and you have to figure out the conflict. I am confident that you can do it in 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes. Starting in 3, 2. Who can answer Bradley
It's hard to